I want to read something real quick. I'm looking at your website and read the following. American Wind Energy Association, you refer to them. At a distance of 750 to 1,000 feet, the turbine is no noisier than a kitchen refrigerator or moderately quiet room. The very next sentence from that same site you failed to quote on your webpage says, exceptions to quiet operating turbines occur in two instances. One being in some type of hilly terrain, where residents can be located in sheltered dips or hollows downwind. You are currently proposing only a half-mile buffer from residences, when other areas with more experiences, such as Germany, Holland, California, have mile or longer buffers. Finally, there are recommendations from the Maine Medical Association, Minnesota Department of Health, French Academy of Medicine, UK Noise Association, and numerous other individual physicians, to name a few, saying that noise from turbines is a serious health issue. I think how it affects people is disputable, but the fact that it does affect people is indisputable. Given your relatively small buffer, the hilly landscape, and the fact that the town is located downwind, how can you tell us that noise will not be an issue? And what kind of compensation are you willing to guarantee people that they can no longer live in their houses once these turbines are up?
Jeff. Okay, noise is an issue, so we're not going to say noise is not an issue. There are perhaps developers who've made that argument. It's just not true. It's just not defensible. The basic question is a half mile sufficient? In some cases, it's probably more than sufficient. In a few cases, it may not be sufficient. That's why we have to do modeling and studies in order to try to determine ahead of time whether the topography, the hilly terrain, or some other issues. There are issues such as unusual weather circumstances that could amplify the sound or cause it to travel greater distances at larger volumes. And all of those things need to be studied and understood. We have already eliminated some turbines in one location because we couldn't figure out a way, essentially, to achieve a half a mile. If we determined that we can't meet the Vermont standards for indoor and outdoor noise, based on existing distances from proposed locations, those locations will either have to be modified or abandoned. Because we will not be able to get a permit if we can't demonstrate not only that those standards can be met, which are considered very protective by at least national standards, by many states. I mean, the problem in Mars Hill was the standard was substantially higher and people live a lot closer than a half mile. At least some people live a lot closer than a half mile there. And the standard was substantially higher than the Vermont standard. So we're going to make sure that the standard can be met. There's going to be a margin of safety on that standard because we don't want to come back after the fact, have the decibel meter prove us wrong, and then have $2.5 million that we can't obviously run because we can't meet the standard. So that is essentially what we're going to do. In most cases, we feel very strongly that a half mile is protective. In some cases, it may not be. It's important to note that in 20% of the wind farms, there are noise issues, and people have registered lots of complaints. And noise is, and in some cases, health effects in 20% of the wind farms that are out there. That means that in 80% of the wind farms, there haven't been noise issues and noise complaints. So clearly, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it so that it's not an issue. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we're one of the 80%, not one of the 20%.
Next question.